Hello and welcome again to another tutorial for the Gamma Optimizer. It has been a while since the last time I updated the tool, but luckily I have added a very exciting feature to the Gamma Optimizer, something that you guys have been requesting for the past couple months, and I know you'll be very happy to see in action today. Without further ado, I am going to introduce the vertical spread capabilities into the Gamma Optimizer. In other words, now you can design vertical spreads. You are not only limited to do single options, but you can do spreads. So the design of a spread in the optimizer looks very simple. You only in reality there is only two types of spreads. It is either bullish or bearish. Like you think something will go up or you think something will go down. It doesn't matter if you're going to express the spread with calls or with puts. It really doesn't matter. The spread is exactly the same, and due to the put call parity restriction, it doesn't matter what kind of option you use to express it. So just to get you familiar with it, let's start with a little simulation here and see how it works. So let's start with the classic thing. Let's imagine we are going to do a very long gamma simulation here. Let's imagine that SPX, that's my favorite underline, will move 20 points within 2 days. Okay, so that's kind of a dramatic move. let's temper our expectations a little bit. Let's say 15 points within 2 days, and let's see what it suggests. So usually this is the normal simulation you have seen. Okay, it suggests that we use the shortest possible expiration, which by the way are the options that expire on Wednesday, 2 days from now on February 8th, and it suggests the 2300 strike. Of course, if we play it like that, we are going to get a nice return of 448%, which is basically 5 times our investment, which is a very impressive return. But that requires to buy a full option. That requires to buy the 2300 option, which I bet won't be that cheap. I mean, one of the reasons we use vertical spreads is so we can lower the cost of the trade, among other things. So let's see how we can do a vertical. As many of the things I have been adding, the vertical spread capability is within the Show Advanced Options menu. So you click on it, and you'll see more or less the things you are used to see, but then you will see a new field called the vertical width. Now it's set to 0, so that means that, like by default, there is no vertical, like you're using a single option. If you look at the help a little bit here, you can see verbatim, if you want to simulate vertical spreads, instead set the width here in points. Leave it at 0 for a single option simulation. So you have to specify how wide your spread is going to be for the simulation. So let's go for the 5 point. I mean, I love to do really tight spreads in SPX for some reason. So let's do it and see if we can improve on those numbers that we have here. So let's plot. And sure enough, we can improve gigantically. Of course, the reason we can improve the returns, now the best suggested return is 655% as opposed to 400%. So this is almost a 8 bagger right here. It's like 7.5 bagger. The reason for that is, of course, because the vertical spread is substantially cheaper. I mean, incredibly cheaper. So you get more or less, you sacrifice a little bit on profit, but the cost is substantially cheaper. Therefore, the return is gigantic. So that's what it is. So what this means is very similar to for a single option. The only difference is, okay, this is the return for a vertical spread where the long leg is 2305. So the tool is not telling you like the exact structure of the spread. It's only telling you where it starts. So it starts at 2305. Of course, the spread it has to have two options. So you go long the option that is here on the table, and because it's a bullish spread, you are playing a move up. So then you go short the next strike at the width. So in this case, you go long 2305, and you go short 2310. That's how you implement a bullish spread. You go long on a strike and you go short a higher strike. and that's how the table has to be read. This is very important, and you have to rewatch this part. Just go ahead, rewatch it as many times as you need to. It's very important that when you are aware that all of the results and the graphs that you see here are based on the long leg of the spread. And so you have to know where the long leg is. I say this because the long leg of the spread is different depending if you are using a bullish spread like in this case, or if you are using a bearish spread, which we'll simulate shortly. So right now, okay, so going long to 2,305 and short 2,310 will give us a return of 655%, which is impressive. And more or less, this is the kind of lotus we have been playing in the room for the past couple of weeks, and we have seen like tremendous returns based on this. And I have been using this tool, of course. I have had this functionality for a long time. It's just I have never offered it to you guys. So it's right here for you without any extra cost. And so you can design your own spreads too. You don't have to depend on me for it. Just for curiosity, let's try to increase the width of the vertical spread and see what happens. Let's increase the width to 10. And see what kind of returns we get in 10. With 10, we get nice returns, but not as good as the ones we used to have. And this is a point I try to drive all the time, that usually, in particular when you have a negative skew, the tighter your spread, the better the return will be. There might be some occasions, depending on the shape of the volatility smile, where the width will actually give you better returns if you go a little wider. So this kind of is a confirmation that, keep it tight, at least in SPX. And for other underlyings, you can play with the width and see. My recommendation is always go the minimum width possible because you are risking less money and you are making more money. So the risk reward is much better under those conditions. Well, so let's do the opposite. Let's simulate a move down and see what kind of returns we get. So let's do a move down of 15 points, and let's change the width of the vertical to 5 points. And let's see what we get. It will be nice if it does something. Okay, I was having some internet issues. So here is the move down for 15 points. It's a vertical spread that is also 5 points wide. So as expected, because of the heavy negative skew in SPX options, we don't get as a good return as in the move up. So we only get like 400% return here with the 2,285 strike. However, we should get better return than the pure options. Let's check the pure options and see what kind of return we get. Look at the dramatic improvement over a single option. The single option will only give you 184%, like the maximum return possible. But as soon as you start kind of like using vertical spreads for the puts, you improve the return dramatically, like 400% right here. Let's see with 10 points and see it might get up a little bit. I still have it. Okay, 407. Yeah, it does improve a little bit. It might improve if we keep going wider. Let's see if the internet cooperates. No, now we go wider and it starts to go down. So 10 or 5 points are optimal for put spreads on the way down, and they were fine. Now, the thing that I want to illustrate here, because we are playing a move down, and this is very important, please focus on my words. The strike that I'm showing on the table and that is being displayed on the graph is the strike for the long leg of the spread. So remember, for a bearish spread, so a spread that will profit if the underlying falls, is the opposite than a bullish spread. So in this case, the short leg has to be smaller than the long leg. So this the spread that the table is trying to tell you to get is say, okay, go long 200 2085 strike, but go short the 200 2080. Notice that the short strike is 5 points before the one that I am displaying. It's very important, because if you don't do that, you're going to express a bullish spread. You don't want to express a bullish spread. You want to design and you want to trade a bearish spread, and a spread that will benefit the underlying force. And it's very important that the short strike is happens before the long strike. And remember, the gamma optimizer is only telling you the long leg of the spread. So this is it for now. I mean, just go play with it. It's kind of highly experimental, so if you find any bugs, just let me know right away. I'll try to fix as many as I can. I've been playing with it for a while here in the gamma optimizer, and I think I removed most of them, but please let me know if you notice something. Again, if you set the vertical width to 0, the optimizer will behave as usual. It's only picking one single option. As soon as you put a vertical width of something, then it's doing a vertical spread simulation, and the simulation changes based on the direction, move up or move down. Also, there is no need to specify there are calls or puts, because a bullish spread can be expressed with calls or puts depending on your preferences, and also based on liquidity. In general, my recommendation before saying goodbye is that when you express a vertical spread or any complex position, try to use the kind of option that will make most of the strikes on the spread out of the money. And the reason for that is that you will find more liquidity and cheaper prices and tighter bid-ask spreads for it, so the costs will be lower, and also it will be easier to get into the trade, as opposed if you pick strikes that are really deep in the money. Let's say when you switch from calls to puts, or from puts to calls, depending on what you're doing. Anyway, thank you, and I hope you have fun watching this video, and I really hope that you find this functionality really useful. Thank you very much.